How long do you think it took you from when you first started journaling about it and then to where you actually had a fully formed manuscript? If you had to guess, how long do you think that was?
How long it took me? It took 4 years.
Okay, yeah. That seems short to me. Just because it can take so long, especially if you don't realize you're actually going to write a book. You could spend a lot of time just writing memories and things before you
Yeah.
realize I wasn't setting out to write a memoir. I was just doing my story work, like my memories. And
Uh-huh.
anyways, yeah, so that's interesting. So can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about what that process looked like for you over those 4 years?
Well, maybe after a year, I had a first draft. I'm not sure. But I remember there were parts of the book like, oh, it was such a wonderful summer. I sat in my dad's cabin living up at Bond Lake, and I would look out the window at the lake, and I would sit on that little couch and write. It took me the whole summer to write the story of the birth.
Mhm.
I revised it and just kept working on it. And I remember going to St. Croix Writers Group in Solon Springs and reading a part of it, and then driving home and just being on such a high because of the feedback I would get. So it wasn't like I wrote this part, then this part, then this part. There are certain parts that just took a lot longer to write because maybe they were more important. I just love the writing process of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've mentioned that you actually really do enjoy both the writing and the editing. A lot of people don't enjoy the editing, but what do you
Yeah.
like about the editing side of it?
I love revising. I
Do
don't
you?
like adding commas and periods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do love the revising because it's already there and so much easier. As you read what you wrote, you can think, oh, I could have said this better. Or what kind of an analogy can I think up to go with this? And it's so fun to just add stuff and be creative and you feel like you're improving your writing. Yeah.
That's great. And then looking back at Sunlight on My Shadow, if there were like two or three things, like the most important things you learned that other writers would really benefit from hearing.
Well, I think don't worry about how you're going to write it and don't get hung up in knowing what you're going to write ahead of time.
Mhm.
There's a quote by E.L. Doctorow that says, writing is a lot like driving a car at night. You can see as far as the headlights, but you can make the whole journey that way. I love that quote. Just dive in, sit down, start writing. It doesn't have to be good either. You know, a lot of times you write and you go, oh my God, this is crap, you know. And Anne Lamott says, you've got to have a lot of shitty first drafts.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the revising is what makes it good. So don't be discouraged if you write and you don't love what you wrote because you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
make it better.
yeah. Such a huge fear of writers is, again, the fear of what people will say or think about them.
Yeah.
Any other wisdom on that? Because that's a huge fear for writers.
Yeah, it is. If there's some way you can write without thinking about what people are going to think, it takes a lot of practice because as you write, you're, oh my God, what's my brother going to think about this? With some practice, you can just put those voices aside and just write what comes from your heart because whatever comes from your heart doesn't matter what people think
Yeah,
because
right.
it's true and it's real, it's juicy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I always tell writers too, that first draft is just for you. You get to say whatever is true for you. And that's not the draft that's going to see the light of day. That's the one that's
Exactly.
right for you. You get it all down. And in the editing process, then you can make decisions. Do I need to say this? Or is this piece that's going to totally mess up my whole family traditions or rituals or whatever, or relationships? Does this need to be in there? Is there a different way to say this? You can make all those decisions in the editing process. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, as long as you're writing your truth,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
keep going, whether, you know, what people are going to say or not. Because, like with Sunlight on My Shadow, I had so much shame. And it was amazing because by the end of the book, I had actually forgiven that young teenage girl. I understood why this happened. You know, I'm saying put your doubts aside. just keep going.
And was it in the writing that you gained that self-compassion? Was it through the writing that helped you realize more compassion for you and for others who had done you wrong along the way?
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. Yeah,
That's really cool.
because when I laid out the details of what happened, I thought, no wonder that happened. It's kind of almost like an inevitable thing.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I relate to that. That's really good. I want to talk a little bit about your second memoir too, South of Ordinary, that you rewrote it. You published it and then you rewrote it.
Mhm.
And I would love to hear a little bit more about that memoir project and maybe just give us a little brief synopsis of what it is about and your whole experience of writing it the first time versus the second time. In both your memoirs, I find you to be so brave for what you're willing to confront in writing and share and vulnerable. And you're very real in your writing. Like you are who you are in real life and in your writing. And
Oh,
it's just
thanks,
a
Mary.
very beautiful thing about how you write. But I'd love to hear more about South of Ordinary because I loved this story.
Well, Dave, my ex-husband, and I took a year and a half long backpacking trip through South America. He was an adrenaline junkie and he just lived for adrenaline. He's always looking for high risk and danger. And I went along because I thought that's what a good wife should do, support her husband. I thought it was fun. It sounded great when we were sitting in our cabin and dreaming about our trip to go around the world. But then when I was in the reality of it and he wanted to do these extremely dangerous things, there was a lot of push and pull. My fear during the whole time, I was trying to push back my fear. I thought that was a weakness. I should be strong like Dave. But I didn't have the same physical skills that he had. And so the book is about that push and pull of doing what you think you should do and being influenced by someone else and finding my own way and choosing to know that I didn't have to follow Dave to be great or to get his approval. And so,
So powerful.
yeah, the first book, I was really fresh off my divorce. It was only a couple years. And I think I was kind of whiny, came off as a victim. And it was funny. Kiona said to me, who's my daughter, she said, well, after she read the book, she says, well, it's not every day you get a bird's eye view of your parents' dysfunctions. Like, oh my gosh, I don't think I wrote the book I wanted to write. So anyway, after a couple of years, I thought, I think I could make this book better because I was a little bit healed from the rawness of the divorce and I was forgiving Dave a little bit. And so I tried to be more generous in my writing about him and kind of take a step back and not be so involved in the me part of that relationship. And so I don't know, I think it was a better book, but I regret that I didn't just revise the first book and keep and upload it and
Yeah, what'd
keep,
you learn about that on a real practical level?
well, I changed the ISBN number. And I did that because I thought, oh, if I have a new book, I can get reviews and I can get awards and things like that. You can only do that in the first year that your book is published. So I thought if I do that, then I can really promote it that way. But the downside was that since it had a different ISBN number, I couldn't keep any of the comments that all my readers had written, which were good, a big asset to the book. And so I had to start over, and I never did go market the book like I thought I was gonna. I just hate hawking my own book. It's just odious to me.
Yeah.
So I never did that. And so there's the book sitting there with hardly any reviews. Sunlight on My Shadow has over 1,200 reviews.
Wow. Yeah.
And the big break for me on that book was getting it accepted by BookBub. I think they ran a special a couple times and I just got tons of reviews and I made a lot of money on that. I had printed 2,500 books, hard copies, and
Mhm.
I still have some of those.
Mhm.
And so the book was published, what, over 10 years ago, but
Mm.
I sold a lot of Kindle versions. But it was all because of BookBub. It was so
Wow. Okay.
fun when they would run that special and I go look at my account and go bing, 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 bing.
And just to like wind back a little bit, so the ISBN number, that's the unique identifying number that every individual book has that you publish. So in switching titles and republishing the book under a new ISBN number, nothing carried over from the original title to the new title. They were two separate books, so you couldn't just transfer reviews and everything to this new book that had a different ISBN number.
Right. And actually, they both had the same title.
Oh, they
So,
did. Oh, South of
yeah,
Ordinary was the original one too.
yeah. And
Okay.
so I could have just
Yeah.
uploaded a new image, kept the title, used the same ISBN, and called it a revised edition, second edition, or something like that.
And would that count as a brand new first year where you could then, uh,
No,
okay, so
it's
it doesn't, you don't restart. Okay.
right, right, right. Because once it's been out, that first year's gone. You don't have any of those opportunities to get reviews from publications or apply for awards, even if it's revised. So
Okay. And you self-published on Amazon.
actually, yes, it's available through Amazon. I had the books printed with Ingram,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Uh-huh.
Lightning Source printed them.
Okay.
And City Creek Press, which is my own company, was the publisher.
Okay. Got it. That's really interesting. And you mentioned having, you got invited to be on Book Bob. Is that how that
Well, I
works?
applied. You submit your book. It's real easy to do. You just submit it and you have to run a special. So I was part of the Amazon KDP program, Kindle Direct Publishing. And so I could discount my book and run a special. And so I think it was 2.99 or 1.99. And then BookBub will say, yes, we'll take it. You have to agree to doing a deal
Yeah.
to be accepted. Yeah.
And then does BookBub promote the book even more?
Well, they send out an email to over 1 million people
Wow.
that
Okay.
says this special is going on. And
So that,
man, that was a good thing. I think I got accepted 2 or 3 times, but then
oh,
after that, they wouldn't accept it again. So.
okay. Okay. Interesting.